There's a moment about 30 minutes into Sam Raimi's newest film, Send Help.
You ever hunt? I think I like it.
This moment, to be exact, that took it from something I was enjoying to something I love. I want to talk about that more. Major spoilers for Send Help ahead. I had high expectations and was quite excited for this movie. The prospect of a Sam Raimi movie starring Rachel McAdams and Dylan O'Brien has me sold before even knowing anything else about it, but the trailer made me even a bit more curious. When the movie started, I was already digging it, but that moment got me a bit more interested, and it was the first instance, or undeniable instance, of Raimi making the audience question the intentions or goals of Linda. And it's a smaller example of something I love so much about this movie. One thing Raimi does incredibly well in this film is subverting expectations. While that has become a phrase that audiences have become allergic to, and even just trying to do so makes them immediately apprehensive, I think people forget how effective it can be when done right. While the initial promise of Send Help is clear and delivered upon, our characters are stranded on an island and must figure out a way to survive. Raimi of course adds a little bit more attention to the movie. When Linda lets the boat go, it adds a bit more intrigue and makes us curious as to what Linda really wants. Raimi purposely plays with the audience by setting up a few possible narrative through lines. Are Linda and Bradley going to eventually both encounter another boat, and what happens if they do have a way to escape? Is Linda going to try and get revenge on Bradley and that's why she kept them stranded? Is Linda in love with Bradley? Raimi and the screenplay do a great job of getting us there, but he does a really great job at guiding the audience, particularly to the love angle, with there being clear signs of potential romance. There's the moment right after they drink, and the body warmth scene. Those both sort of blur the lines even more of who wants what here. What is their goal? He's clearly leading us one way, but then he doubles down on this zigging and zagging by adding the bonfire scene. An intimate moment that allows our characters to bond more, but also adds even more mystery and unease to the film. It makes the decisions and moments that maybe made us initially apprehensive or unsure of Linda even more questionable, and Linda even more interesting. Part of this is how great McAdams is in the scene, but also how much the scene conveys about Linda while still leaving the audience not entirely sure of how to feel about her. It adds even more tension to a movie that's just full of it. It would be hard to talk much more about this movie without mentioning how great both McAdams and O'Brien are in the film. I've become a pretty big fan of Dylan O'Brien in recent years, with his performances in Saturday Night and Twinless being really impressive to me. He fits perfectly here. His sort of shit-eating grin and simmy baby face make him a good contrast for McAdams, and he's able to make himself so contemptible in the first 5 minutes that you kind of stay on Linda's side the entire time. He does a really great job at matching that tone that Raimi is so good at staying at. More on that later. And he has so many moments where his face and little bursts make the scene for me. The moment when McAdams promises to neuter him is one of the best moments of the whole movie. His face acting is phenomenal here, and he's able to sell the dark comedic tone with the absurd horror of what is supposedly happening to him, and all while not really moving his face. It's really impressive work, and it's part of the reason O'Brien's name should be getting called a bit more. Rachel McAdams is definitely the star of the picture though. It's hard to convince me that this isn't a gorgeous woman, but McAdams does a great job at showing us the change in Linda through her performance and not her actual appearance. The way she crinkles her nose, holds her shoulders, and just generally exists in a space transforms throughout the movie, and it makes Linda's glow up feel entirely performance based. She doesn't get prettier or more makeup, she becomes more loose and more alive in her new environment, and McAdams sells that really well. I mentioned that she adds a bit more intrigue to the movie, and while part of that is the writing, it is also that McAdams is so good in the role that it's hard to not get invested in her character and performance. I really feel like Rachel McAdams deserves more shine, and this movie is giving her that. I love the moments when she sadly watches her coworkers resent her, as well as when she gets to let loose and go as crazy as the movie does. She's able to shift through endearing to exciting to terrifying in an incredibly natural and believable way, and her performance is a big factor in keeping you on board for the off-the-walls places this movie goes. The camera work isn't necessarily anything new or out of left field, especially for Raimi, but that doesn't make it any less enjoyable. There's plenty of awesome shots that are zoomed in right up to the skin, key visuals that are used early like the flare of the ring and then followed up on later. Few directors can use a cross dissolve like Sam does, and there's a great moment where he uses like 4 of them in a row, and I was loving it. Sam and cinematographer Bill Pope both clearly understand what should and shouldn't be in frame, and it makes for not only some pretty great looking shots, but some really awesome scares and crash zooms. I love how he goes back to the POV camera for a few moments, notably for the boar scene, which felt like Evil Dead, but I think there's a moment towards the end where it goes POV as Linda and Bradley are fighting, a scene that in no way lets up and has a ton of fun with how Bill Pope chooses to shoot it, which that sort of kinetic energy present in the cinematography is in the rest of the film and is what I want to talk about next. This movie doesn't let up. In all the best Raimi ways, this film is unrelenting and just keeps going when most wouldn't. We see this from the beginning. After the plane crash and Linda having to fight off Donovan, the scene is seemingly over until we see Donovan smacking against the side of the plane. Whenever you think the scene is done, Sam always has just a little bit more for you. The boar fight is maybe my favorite example of this. After Linda's 2 to 3 minute long hunt and then fight, she seemingly finally defeats the boar, just for Raimi to once again keep it going on you. The boar reawakens, spewing even more blood and mucus and innards as he tries his best to reach Linda, who then starts stabbing it again with the same broken spear. It's just so unbelievably awesome. It is one of those moments that absolutely makes the movie for me. The final fight is allowed to go overboard too. I was jumping in my seat when he went for her eye, and you can really feel the impact of his hits. It's a perfect audio-visual combination, and also how far Raimi and his actors are willing to go, but moments like the scalp ripping feel as visceral and as impactful as they do because Raimi isn't interested in holding back. And I love that about the movie so much. From the storytelling to the action to the blood and guts, Raimi is intent on taking the audience the full mile here, and I just can't express enough how much I love it. Like I mentioned, we see this level of over-the-top action and death from the beginning, and through that, Raimi establishes a tone and level of reality that we're operating in that allows him to go to these crazier places without it ever really feeling jarring or off-putting. Raimi keeps the same tone and mood throughout the entire film, and it's part of what makes his movies so good. I could understand if his over-the-top tone and thirst for blood is a bit much for you, and if it puts you off from his films. I think that's fair if it just isn't your thing. But I don't think you can say that Raimi's films feel unbalanced or like they just suddenly become crazy and heightened, because Sam is so good at executing the tone he wants and keeping the audience in that zone. He's not necessarily doing overtly weird or crazy things, but he makes it clear that something is off, and even in the camera work of The Office, you can tell that things are going to get intense. There have been plenty of movies in the 2020s to tackle the concept of eat the rich, and it's a pretty mixed bag. Some do so more successfully than others, and some explore the topics in more nuanced and interesting ways than others. But it has been undeniably an overstuffed genre. What makes Help not only so effective but so fresh is Raimi's approach. Linda is our protagonist, and I was rooting for her to win the entire time, but by the end, Raimi has you questioning her and what it is she even has been going for in such a smart way. Monsters aren't born, they're made. Was Linda a monster before even making it to the island? There's a few moments early, stabbing Donovan in the boar fight, that make us unsure of who this woman might really be, but those moments are pretty ingeniously caked in enough thrill and logic to never give us a clear answer either way. Sam isn't doing a movie about how rich people are evil, he's talking about how all sorts of evil and malicious actions are born from our society. It's not that simple, and it's not going to be solved by a movie about an employee and CEO getting stranded on an island, so Raimi doesn't really try and answer it or give it a solution. He just shows us how rotten and vile we are directly to our own faces. Sometimes I think people just need a gross and over-the-top representation of the deep-seated issues and core problems of our society, and I love how far Raimi is willing to go here. While I enjoyed a movie like The Menu, I found myself not really thinking about it long after, or feeling that it had many profound things to say. It kind of went how most of these Eat the Rich movies do. Help doesn't have an Anya Taylor-Joy, because Linda isn't one of the good ones, or exempt from the issues of the system. She exists in it, she's a victim, and she's become a monster too in the process. It's great, and I think it's a route so many filmmakers wouldn't be willing to commit to, but Raimi does, and Help is so much better for it. In a month that is known for dumping movies and filling the theaters with schlock, Raimi has proven that there is always a reason to go to the movie theater. I called Help a breath of fresh air in the title because in many ways, it feels like one. Sam Raimi is a director we've only seen 3 movies from since the year 2010, and the past 2 movies were big budget studio films that, for as much charm as they may have, didn't fully feel like a Raimi film. And in that absence, film culture has commented more and more on the burgeoning angst about consolidated wealth. Help feels like a refreshing take on the genre, and a return to what made Sam Raimi's films so great in the first place. If you're still looking for a film to start your 2026, or need an excuse to visit the movie theater, I strongly encourage you to give Help a chance. We need more movies like this and more Raimi out there. I think that's going to do it for me on this one, so thank you guys for watching. Please leave a like and subscribe. Let me know down below what you think. Follow me on Letterboxd, and go watch Help.